What's up, Internet world, and welcome back to the channel. Today I bring you the 2022 Range Rover Velar. So the last Velar we had on the channel scored 1.2 million views. And of course that was the Velar SVA, Special Vehicle Autobiography. Well, this one's not the special version, it's just the regular Velar. And that's important because when you are out shopping for a baller vehicle and you're not as baller as you think you are, well, your choices are kind of slim. You've got the Evoque, then you've got the Velar. You see, you don't have to spend the big money for the Range Rover Sport or even the big Range Rover. This is your choice. So your competition in the SUV coupe class is the GLE Coupe, the X6, and of course the Audi Q8. Now if I was comparing those three against this, I would say this is the best all-around one without the body kits. You see, when you add body kits to those guys, they also pump up their game. What do you guys think? In the Range Rover Velar P400, whew, biggest bad boy you can get, short of the SVA reviewed. Man, I'm excited. Supercharged and turbocharged inline six that makes 395 horsepower and 410 pound-feet of torque. This thing is supposed to blast in 5 seconds to 100. So let's put this thing in dynamic mode. Wow, fancy red lighting in front of me. I put it in S. I'll leave it in D. Yeah, I put it in S. Okay. Ooh, the front drops a bit on the floor. Okay, a little bit of a delay and the transmission does a little bit of a clunky. And after about 55 RPM, it sounds like it's knowing that it's going to shift, and it sounds like it's about to grenade but doesn't grenade. Or what I would call maybe a really overweighted 777 trying to take off. Okay, let's try that again. It's like a yacht, a big, heavy monster yacht trying to take off. All right, to start and stop. Come back on again. There we go. The shifting. Wow, transmission. Wow, motor, money. Transmission, no idea where you're going. So this looks like every other Range Rover on the market today, and it's because it's the best looking front end, in my opinion. No matter if you bought the Evoque, the Velar, and of course the new Range Rover, you have this look. And they're just sort of using it across the board, so it's simple. They're not trying to change it up. Even the Discovery has this front end, which is crazy to me. So the Velar has a starting price of $58,300, all the way up to this, which starts at $78,400 in the P400 R-Dynamic. And because this is an R-Dynamic, you have all the R-Dynamic pieces, such as the front lower valence, this little badging, black everywhere, black Range Rover, and hey, that's the only way people want it. This is the only way you're gonna buy it. So they'll start off low so they can advertise cheap money, but in the end, this is what you're gonna buy. Because Range Rovers are pretty much sold in either black or silver, and because they offer like 50 different silvers, you guys probably wanna know what color this is. And this is called Eiger Grey. Now, it might not be that important because half this car is actually covered in black. As you can see, the shoulder line and up is all black. You don't get a choice, it is the way it is. You can choose carbon fiber on the mirrors, but that is it. As far as wheels go, you can get 18s all the way up to 22s. And yes, you do have flush handles, and that's what makes this thing so beautiful when they go in and you have this sleek line that goes across. Because again, this is one of the best looking coupe SUVs you can buy. And it does have full air suspension, so you can drop it and open the door and jump in just the height setting that you would like. It also has something unique. It does not use actual programming in the all-wheel drive system. It uses torque vectoring by using the brakes. So it applies brakes when you go around the corner. It also has something new for 2022, and it has something called an off-road cruise control programming. So when you are going off-road, you can set the cruise control just like our Ford Raptor. I find the suspension a little bit too firm that I prefer to drive it in its comfort setting even when I'm driving aggressively. I just feel like there's enough body roll there to actually make me feel the curves as opposed to just hitting them hard. I also feel that the steering is really good. It doesn't feel soft. It feels defined. It feels like it knows exactly where to go where I point it. And I also know that when I plant my foot to the ground, I have enough power because this thing makes a ton of power. And while I drive it, I feel exactly how I'm supposed to feel driving a Range Rover. It feels very luxurious. I sit up higher. The seats are very firm, like all Range Rovers. The suspension is soft when you want it to be soft. It feels like I'm driving on the road and I own the road. All those feelings that make me feel rich, you know. That's what I kind of feel like right now, rich. The brakes feel decent, not overly grabby, and I feel like it was designed not for track use, but for soft slowdowns. It's not overly aggressive when I touch the pedal, but I have to really lay into it if I want to stop. So it's a little bit unnerving knowing that I have this much power and I have this much weight behind me. On the corner here, on the throttle, that was very good. This similarly feels like the SVA in terms of the top end. I know the SVA was obviously faster and off the line was a beast. But the gap difference is not actually as wide as I thought. This one does feel very solid and stable, and they've made improvements since the SVA we reviewed. Also, when I'm sitting in it, as I mentioned, I do feel like I'm sitting higher, but then visually when I look around me, and especially when I look in this side view mirror, I can tell it has a really high shoulder line, so I'm actually not as high as I perceive it to be. Listen, let's be honest. The reason why we love Range Rovers is because from the time we were little babies, we always remembered Range Rovers being slammed. Yes, you could just turn that dial, or now push the button, and this thing goes right to the floor from factory. And we loved it. And it's no different in 2022 with the Range Rover Velar. Now when we move back here, you'll see they have little inlets on this rear spoiler. And that is to drive air down here and essentially move the droplets of water. Or so Kia and Hyundai says with their EV6 and Ioniq, but this one has a wiper. I love the fact the third brake light is not red in color. It's actually clear. And of course, when you hit the brakes, they're red, but hey, they're clear now, and I like that touch, including these taillights that have sort of a 3D effect when you look at them right here. And I love the fact it's all black Range Rover Velar, and then of course the fake tippies with a little bit of an exhaust that you can see right through. If you're looking at towing, this thing does tow 5,500 pounds, which is actually pretty good for its class considering the Audi Q5 tows 4,000 pounds. This is better. So as you open up the power tailgate of your Range Rover Velar, you will see you have a full-size spare tire. In terms of depth, you have 41 inches and 44 inches in terms of width. You also have two awesomely located rear deck speakers. Awesomely is a word. Back seat of the Range Rover Velar. Do you guys smell that? That is a smell of the new purification system that detects how much carbon dioxide is in the air. What? Yes, I thought this leather was awesome. This is Windsor perforated leather. And this type of leather we've had on two Range Rovers in the family, and I will tell you that this thing is beatable. Look at the door panel. Look at the quality of this door panel. Now you can get them in an 8-speaker, a 12-speaker, and a 17-speaker Meridian sound system. This thing is mad fancy. You can even pick the wood. Not the wood up here, like most cars, on the trim. They have the wood on the middle, between the upper leather and the lower leather. You also have this monster door handle. She monster. you have these fancy plastic buttons that recline these rear seats. And as far as room back here, it is a little bit smaller than the Audi Q8. As far as headroom, it feels normal. Even with this sort of flat roof, it's all black, everything inside. And you do have this small little rear glass here to make me feel a little bit more or less claustrophobic. I do have 2 cup holders here, and I do have heated seats, and I have the option to buy quad zone climate control, and of course a cooled glove box. The only downside though is it doesn't have any USBs back here, like none whatsoever. It does have the old school cigarette lighter, which is sort of disappointing in 2022. I do have vents, but hey, this is a Range Rover, not a Fiat. Go to the front. Front seat of the Range Rover Velar. I've got a 14-way adjustable seat that I can push out for leg extensions. Of course, I can make it wider, tighter, and of course, I can make this headrest do one of these bad boys instead of pressing the button, pushing it up. All the facets of real luxury. Inside here, it does feel very luxurious. I have a 12.3-inch screen in front of me and dual 10-inch screens, and everything is touch. Not a lot of hard buttons. Even the steering wheel only has rollers and an up and down for my cruise control. Over here on the left side with my windows, of course, they are hard buttons, but everything else is a touch, except for this hidden cup holder. Voila! I have 2 cup holders and this little square thing that I can hide my cell phone or my key. When I shut the car off, it's all black. There's not much to talk about. Even these rotary dials are not illuminated. The only thing I can tell you is this shifter is similar to the Discovery we had. It's not even like the Evoque, which is a completely different setup. So let's dive into the screens. So Range Rover has decided to split the data into 2 screens. The upper screen deals with navigation, phone, media, and select vehicle settings. The lower screen deals with climate, seat heat, massage, vehicle, of course the drive modes, and air suspension. Now here's an interesting point. When I click on this 4x4 button, it actually takes some of the data and puts it on the upper screen. So here we go. You can see the pitch, you can see how much power is being transferred to each wheel, and then of course the roll, and then some of your camera settings on the right side. And you can choose different modes on the left and right. So let's get this and slide over here and see what other data we have. Oh, this is just explanations for the drive modes. Interesting. So let's tackle the bottom screen first. So on the left side, you have, as I mentioned, the 4x4 info, your auto hold, your hill descent, and then of course your start and stop. So when I hit climate, it does move some of the data to these rollers. Now these rollers are pretty interesting because I like the fact that you can simply hit them and then it changes into heated seats. On the right side when I want to heat them, on the left side when I want to cool them, and then you can sync them. Pretty straightforward stuff. Next up is seat heat, but it can also set where you want to put your heat. Do I want to have it just on my back or just on my booty? Next up is massage. Massage is, again, straightforward. I hit the power button and I can choose what type of intensity I would like and where I want to have my massage. And then next up is vehicle, and this is the different drive modes and of course the air suspension on the right side. Interestingly enough, Range Rover is one of the only brands that have a front heated windshield, and you can simply hit this button and it activates to de-thaw whatever ice you have on the front. So moving up to the top screen here, you will see you have navigation, phone, and media, as I mentioned, and you have this little button with a P. Now when I hit this button, it simply just shows my rear camera. This one does not have 360, and at this price point, it's a little bit disappointing. I do get to pick my lefts and my rights, but that is about it. Pretty basic, decent quality, nothing to write home about. Now if I move back here, I do have the home button where I can simply just look at all the specific options I can get, including, of course, my favorite, weather. Last but not least, it's Achilles' heel, reliability. Now everybody I know has leased a Velar. They've not cut a check for it, and if they have, then guess what? They obviously have 2 or 3 cars in their stable and they're not worried about a car being at the shop, because that, unfortunately, is part of his history and culture. So maybe in 2022, they've improved that. Only time will tell. So with that said, I hope you guys like this video. We've got merch. Make sure you check it out in the link below. As always, thank you for subscribing.